Hello everyone, this is the Undying Nephilim, and in this video today I will show you guys the heroes, the hero units, and the titans for Labrynna and the Fairies. So let's just get right into it and start talking about Labrynna. The first hero that Labrynna has is Queen Ambi from Oracle of Ages. I think she does make a few brief appearances in Oracle of Seasons if you play the linked games, but my mind is drawing a blank. But anyway, Queen Ambi is the current monarch of Labrynna. She is not directly responsible, but she is the face of Labrynna's campaign of Manifest Destiny. Ooh, I just noticed that. That's an interesting. You can see the shadow of this guy behind Varen with the wings. That's kind of a cool little visual trick there that happened. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by that. Where was I? Yeah, Queen Ambi, the leader of Labrynna, yada 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 yada. She is a support hero. She's not very good at combat herself, mostly because she moves pretty slowly and she's kind of old. And frankly, she's not really addressed for combat, so most of her abilities and stuff will buff her armies. She's probably better to kind of hang out in the back or with a group of soldiers dedicated to being her bodyguards, and then just boosting the performance of her army. What is probably most awesome about Ambi is her unique hero unit, which is, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, the Rabaldaquin, the organ gun, which is these 4 cannons strapped together that rapidly fire out 4 shots. It is technically a siege unit, so you can use this unit to deal quite a healthy bit of damage to buildings and walls and turrets and whatnot. However, its range is a lot shorter than most other siege weapons, so the best way to use it is actually as crowd control, because it has kind of a shotgun effect when it fires, so it has a very large area of effect. So it'll deal damage across a large volume of enemy units. So I would recommend using this as crowd control, but you can use it to tear apart buildings. It's just not as ideal to use as a siege unit compared to even the normal cannons that Labrynna has. So yeah, that is the Rabaldaquin, or the organ gun, one of those 3. And we will move on to the next Labrynna hero, or villain if you prefer, which is Varen, the Sorceress of Shadows. She is also from the Oracle of Ages game. She's actually the main villain in that game. And yeah, she is armed with a fairy whip, and she herself is pretty tall and pretty strong, so she herself is really good at crowd control. So if a bunch of enemies gang up on her, she can just whip them with her whip and send them flying everywhere. She's very slow though, so yeah, not very fast. So if she herself gets stuck in a situation where she's outmatched, she's gonna have a hard time escaping. At least until hero abilities are added into the engine, because she's gonna have a lot of really awesome hero abilities, including stuff like conversion, or possession, sorry. I mean, her possession will work like conversion, but I won't talk about that until hero abilities are added.
Yeah!
Anyway, Varen's unit, which is actually a second hero, is Fire, also from the Oracle games, and I believe he was also in Link's Awakening. Originally, I wanted him to be the 4th hero for Labrynna, but kind of makes sense that he's just attached to Varen, because there's not really another unit that really works well being attached to Varen. So he's kind of like the resistance that Ordana has for Ashe, or he's like a bonus hero that they can summon if you pick Varen, and he'll have a bunch of hero abilities and stuff too, once hero abilities are added into the engine. For now, he is just a powerful flying unit with a ranged fireball attack. And he's flying, so he can go all over the map as he pleases. He's probably a pretty good scout unit, too. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted by his flapping, the sound of his wings flapping. Anyway. Yeah, that's Fire. I don't know, I think he's pretty cool. Pretty cool idea for Varen's hero unit. So yeah, that is Varen and her little second hero. Third up, we have Ralph, the grandson of Queen Ambi. Ralph himself is armed with a little pistol, so he is a ranged hero, and he can shoot down people from a distance with his pistol. Probably best to keep him off of the front lines and just shooting people from far away, because he doesn't have a lot of HP or a lot of armor. Yeah, his armor is really terrible. He only has 15 hack and pierce armor, so he'll get chopped up in battle if he gets into melee. So you'll want to keep him at a distance and just use his pistol. And then his hero unique unit is the Toke Gorilla, which is this crazy little Toke here. Now, as we all know, stealth is not in the engine yet, so one of the main features of this unit is currently not working, which is stealth. They're supposed to be invisible. However, the other thing they can do is in the engine. What these guys can do is they can place these little explosive bombs. So I'll go ahead and place one right there. So they go around and they place these little barrels of explosive gunpowder. And what you can do is, since it doesn't really work as well as I want to now because they don't have stealth, but once they have stealth, you can sneak them into an enemy base and, place these around and then, have them self-destruct and destroy everything around them. So right now they're not quite as useful as they're intended to be because stealth isn't in the engine. But you can still kind of use them as landmines, I guess, right now in the meantime. Set them outside your base and then just detonate them when an enemy army comes into your base. Which, even when stealth is added into the engine, you can still do that. So, that is the Toke Gorilla. Next up, the fourth hero for Labrynna is Edgar the Giant. And he is actually a character created by one of my longtime patrons. And he is basically a giant, as the name implies. He's, I think, about 12 feet tall. He is one of Labrynna's brigadas, or generals, so he is one of the people responsible for leading their armies. And on his own, he is this very, very slow-moving but powerful hero unit. I guess kind of in the vein of Varen, where he deals... I don't think he deals splash damage. Let me double check. Nope, he does deal splash damage. He deals knockback damage. He's completely immune to knockback, so he himself can't be knocked around. So he's really good at fighting on the front lines. And he also has a pole arm, so he deals anti-cavalry bonus damage. So he himself is good at fighting against cavalry. So don't send horses at him. He'll just stab him to death. Anyway, Edgar's hero unit is the Campeador, which I'm not sure why he's taken some damage here. But the Campeador is a knight unit, kind of like the Knights of Talus that Labrynna has. So he will gain all the benefits of knight abilities and knight technologies. So if you have a Hylian player playing as Link on your team, all of Link's stuff will boost this guy. Otherwise, the Campeador is an anti-cavalry, heavily armored knight unit. He's got a halberd here, so he's got good reach, and because of that, he deals bonus damage against cavalry. He also deals bonus damage against creatures, because their particular order of knights has a rite of passage. They have to kill a blue bear, which they actually wear on their back as a cape. The fur from the bear that they killed in order to become part of that order of knights. So yeah, that is the Campeador. Probably, I I almost want to say is probably my favorite. I don't know. I kind of like Vire, but other than Vire, he might be my favorite hero unit that Labrynna has. Mostly because of his design, and I like the cape on his back. So yeah, he wasn't my idea though. His idea was also the patron who designed Edgar the Giant. So Labrynna's Titan we'll say for the end as usual. So we will go into the fairy heroes. So the first hero for the Fairies of Tarm is the Fairy of Winds from Twilight Princess. In Nintendo canon, she has no official name. In Neffy canon, her name is Sakaya, which, if you're familiar with Akalin, you might be able to pick out what it means. But anyway, she is a ranged hero unit that just shoots out a bunch of wind, so she deals spirit damage, she deals splash damage, and enemies that are hit by her attack are dealt knockback damage, so they'll go flying everywhere. So she is a ranged mage hero. And she hovers, so she can fly over, she's not flying, but she is a hovering unit, so she can hover over impassable terrain, which is awesome. But she's not vulnerable to ranged attacks like most flying units. And that's the case for pretty much all of the fairy units. Most of the fairy units are hovering, but not flying, so they can pass over impassable terrain, but they don't have the weakness to archer units or ranged units like flying units do. Anyway, Sakaya's hero unit, which is probably my favorite hero unit of all of the fairies, is the Gale Boomerang from Twilight Princess. The little boomerang that she possessed and had, well, I guess it was in the possession of Link, so it was kind of him directing it. But yeah, in Hyrule Conquest, she can make a bunch of them and have them fly around and kill people, which is awesome. So yeah, it's this magic boomerang that flies around. And the cool thing about this is, well, I think one of the reasons I like it the most is that the sound effects that I've attached to it, like when you order it to attack an enemy, it does the lock-on sound, which I don't know, I think that's so cool for some reason. But anyway, it's a hovering unit. It is not an organic unit, so it is immune to a lot of things that affect organic units. It's a construct. It's a very, very fast unit, and it has an insanely high dodge rate. It starts out with 50% dodge, which means half of the attacks being lobbed against it will miss, which is really awesome. And it has slightly different abilities depending on the season. So I have a little thing off to the side here so that I won't forget the different abilities they have in the seasons like I did in the fairy video. So, in spring, the Gale Boomerang moves twice as fast. So this actually is faster than it'll move in the other seasons. In summer, it deals fire damage. So let me switch the season to summer. And you'll notice the little leaves under it change too. So yeah, in summer it deals fire damage to everything around it, which is awesome. Yep, 15 fire damage. In autumn, their dodge rate goes up even higher. I think up to 75%. So let me switch to autumn. Let me switch to autumn. Yep, their dodge rate goes up to 75% in autumn, so that's really useful against melee units. And again, the little leaves changed. And in winter, they are... Apparently I'm being attacked by someone. Oh. Well, looks like the Gerudo killed the next unique unit that I was going to show. So I'm going to have to awkwardly end the video and restart it. Anyway, in the winter, these guys have stealth, which... isn't in the engine yet, so anyway, I'm going to have an awkward cut in this video. Actually, I know why that unit ran off, because in the autumn, that unit, I believe, gains a ranged attack, so she started attacking all of the Gerudo down here. But anyway, Here's an awkward cut as I restart this level. Alrighty, now that we're back and I have restarted this so that this silly, crazy fairy didn't run off and get herself killed before I even got to talk about her. Although, in hindsight, that actually suits the personality of that particular unit. But anyway, that was the Fairy of Winds and her unique unit. Next up is Queen Venus from A Link to the Past. And she is the fairy associated with summer. I actually probably forgot to mention it, but the Fairy of Winds is associated with the spring. Venus is associated with the summer. And she's kind of insane. And on her own, she has a fairy whip, kind of like Varen. So she has a lot of the same combat potential that Varen has. However, unlike Varen, she hovers, so she can pass over impassable terrain, and she moves a little bit faster than Varen, so she might actually outclass Varen, at least initially, before Varen gets all of her hero abilities. So yeah, that is Venus, the Queen of the Mad, and her hero unit is the Mad Mystic, the batshit insane fairies from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Yeah, the Mad Mystic is kind of a babbling, incoherent, crazy lady. They are a hovering unit like most fairies, so they can go over impassable terrain. They are a melee unit, at least in most seasons they're a melee unit. If I remember right, they deal knockback in all seasons. Let me check. No, they don't deal knockback in all seasons. But anyway, I'll go ahead and show what they do in all I'll go ahead and show what they can do in all seasons, but I have to go through all the seasons first because it involves them dying. But anyway, in the spring, they actually, I guess this goes into what they can do in all seasons. So when the Mad Mystic dies, they fracture into a bunch of stray fairies like they did in Majora's Mask. In the spring, they will spawn twice as many of them when they die, but I'll go ahead and show that after I get through all the other seasons. In the summer, they deal knockback damage. So I'm going to switch to summer. And yeah, because they don't have wings, their hair color changes with each season instead of the wings. But yeah, in summer they deal knockback damage. In autumn, they have a much larger line of sight, which I can't really demonstrate because I have the map revealed. So, just gonna have to take my word for it that they have a larger line of sight. And they will also be able to detect stealth units in autumn. Then in winter, I believe they have the ranged attack. So let's go to winter. Yep, in winter they have a ranged attack. So hopefully she won't run off and attack these Gerudo. Anyway, I'll go back to spring and spawn the stray fairies. So when she dies, she spawns a bunch of the stray fairies. Which is just really cool. I don't know, down the road I might make it so that if you have enough straight fairies, they can combine together to form a Mad Mystic. At least when you're playing as Queen Venus, but I'm not sure if I'll do that. Since it seems like they couldn't really do that on their own, they needed the help of an outside force to do that. But anyway, that's Venus and her unique units and her unique units' abilities. So, next up, the third fairy hero is Desire, which was actually designed by one of my oldest friends years and years and years ago. So I love the idea for the character, and I decided to include it in my work. Like, I think it was almost 12 years ago now, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It's been a while, but Desire has been part of Nephi canon for a very long time. Anyway, Desire, she was a fairy criminal who committed a bunch of crimes And for her crimes, she was imprisoned in this basically a living suit of armor that follows the whims of other fairies. So she has basically no agency. And she herself is just this giant, creepy, spider-like monstrosity. Which, if you can identify where the design is inspired from, hint hint, the Oracle games, then you get a cookie. Anyway, Desia's hero unit is the Bounded, which is similar to Desire herself. They are fairy criminals that have been imprisoned in these suits of armor, and they're basically warrior slaves that do the bidding of other fairies. So they are armed with the Great Fairy Sword that they use in a melee. And one of their passive abilities that they have in every season is this ring around them. Any enemy that comes in this ring will slowly take damage from because they have like these little thorns on their armor that passively deal damage to enemies around them, which is really awesome. So, in spring, they explode when they die, and they deal damage to a bunch of enemies around them. If I remember right, it's poison damage, so they'll poison enemies around them when they die in spring. In the summer, they deal true damage, so they will deal maximum damage to any enemy they attack in the summer, and they'll ignore armor values. I guess the Great Fairy Sword likes to do that in the summer. In autumn, they have more HP, which I'll go ahead and switch to autumn. Yeah, in autumn, they have almost 200 more HP, so they're much more durable in the autumn. Uh-oh. You guys don't go off to attack those Gerudo. Anyway, lost my train of thought. Yeah, they have more HP in the autumn, so they're more durable. And in the winter, if I remember right, let me check the list here. In the winter, their aura around them, the passive damage aura, it just deals more damage at a faster rate to enemies around them. So that is the Bounded, Desia's unique hero unit. Alrighty. So, the fourth and final fairy hero is the Queen of all Fairies from the Wind Waker, the creepy little fairy child that could puppeteer other fairies to her will. So, to some degree, she is the leader of all the fairies. The actual level of control that she has over all of them is dubious at best in Nephi canon. Obviously, fairies are able to rebel against her. But anyway, she is a very powerful mage unit. She has a ranged attack that apparently deals ice damage because she is connected to the winter. Yeah. She also deals pierce and crush damage. I don't remember that being intentional, so that might actually be something I need to fix. But she is a ranged mage unit, basically, that shoots out ice and freezes enemies. And her unique unit is the Mistwalker.
On this place.
Also from the Wind Waker, the Great Fairy design from Wind Waker. And I'm currently in winter, so let me go back to spring. Anyway, like a boomer, I forgot to turn my phone off, and the little beeps are distracting me, so let me turn it off really quickly. Anyway, the Mistwalker from Wind Waker. So they are a ranged mage unit, and the type of attack they have changes depending on the season. Actually, no, I take that back. They have the same attack in all 4 seasons, but their abilities change depending on the season. They deal spirit damage in all 4 seasons. So in spring, they have a chance to revive themselves if they die. So if I remember correctly, because it doesn't say in the statistics here, I believe it's a 10% chance that when they die, they will resurrect themselves. So they have a 10% chance to cheat death and annoy your enemies for not dying, which is pretty cool. In the summertime, their attack rate, I believe, doubles, so they attack twice as fast, so their DPS goes up, which is really awesome and very handy. So yeah, in the summer, they're basically a pure combat mage that's useful for shredding up enemies very quickly. In autumn, they become kind of a utility unit, and they just passively generate all of the resources. If you'll notice up here, the resource counts will start to go up really slowly from the Mistwalker. So in autumn, they kind of become like little mobile menhirs, where they'll slowly generate resources for you. And then in the winter, they have this giant ring around them. Any enemy that moves into this ring will move a little bit slower, and their line of sight will become obscured. And they should be generating a little foggy cloud around them, but it looks like I forgot to add that in. So I'll go ahead and put that in before I release this publicly. So in the winter, they're more of a debuffing unit, where they kind of debuff the enemy, they slow them down, and they make their line of sight a lot shorter. So yeah, that is the Mistwalker, the hero unit for the Queen of all Fairies. And that is it for the heroes and the hero units. So I guess we will get into the Titans. Let me just set it back to spring. So, if it wasn't obvious, the Titans for both of these factions are the two Maku trees from both of the Oracle games. Labrynna has the Maku tree of Labrynna, and the Fairies of Tarm have the Maku tree of Horon. The Maku tree of Labrynna, they're depicted a little bit differently in Nephi canon. If you've played the Oracle games, the Maku tree of Labrynna was the female Maku tree from those two games. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be misremembering, but I believe she is the sister of the Maku tree of Horon. I actually couldn't find information, and sadly I don't have the Oracle games anymore, so I couldn't go back to play the Oracle games to find out, but I believe, if I remember right, she is his sister and he is her brother. But anyway, in Nephi canon, she gave into Varen, and Labrynna's kind of dark turn, and she has got all of this steampunk machinery plugged into her to augment her strength. And yeah, the Maku tree of Labrynna is a pure siege unit, basically. She is geared towards just wrecking buildings, defensive emplacements, and just tearing apart bases. I mean, she can fight off normal units in a melee and deal crowd control, but she is best served as tearing apart enemy bases. And I don't know, I love this design and the wobbly pipes and everything. It's so cool. I love it. Yeah. And then the Titan for the Fairies is the Maku tree Horon, who actually is not a melee unit. He actually is a non-combat unit, and what he does is, in a fight, he will keep summoning a bunch of fairy droves, which I'll go ahead and demonstrate on these poor Gerudo down here. It is very, very slow, though, like most of the giant tree Titans. And unlike the Maku tree of Labrynna, his appearance is a little more true to Nintendo canon, because he hasn't become corrupted like she has. Although, obviously, I've taken Nephi liberties because he's walking around like a giant spider. But anyway, he just starts summoning little fairy drones, which, if you notice, there's like this little burst of magic that sends the Gerudo flying back. And the little fairy heroes will come out and attack. So he doesn't actually attack himself. He summons a bunch of fairies to attack for him. I don't know, I think that's cool. Let's see all these heroes. Now all these guys are coming in to join. I'll just go ahead and have everyone attack. Giant battle now. Alrighty. I think I've shown enough for today. You guys can stop that. Or not. Go ahead and finish off this. Alright. So, that is, Labrynna and the Fairies of Tarm. They're heroes and hero units. So, sometime in the next few weeks, I will be releasing them publicly. If you're a patron, you can download the Fairies and Labrynna right now and test them out yourself. Before I release them publicly, there's a few other things I'm going to work on. There is one minor faction that I think I'm going to get done, and I'll go ahead and make a video on them when I finish them. It'll probably be the Tokay. There's a few other small things I'm going to work on that I need to finish before I release these guys. So it'll probably be, just to be safe, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks before they're released, because I also need to make the trailer, which will take me a while. Although I am considering just not making a trailer and then just releasing them, so I'll go ahead and leave that up to a vote. If you guys think I should make a trailer for Labrynna and the Fairies, go ahead and let me know. Just know that if I do, it'll take me like a week to 2 weeks longer to get these guys out for you, because the cinematics just take forever to do, and they're really stressful and they're kind of a drain on me. But if all of you guys are fine waiting a little bit longer, I'll go ahead and make a fancy trailer for these guys. I think I have a really good idea for a trailer. I just don't know if I want to spend several weeks on one. But anyway, after I release Labrynna and the Fairies of Tarm, I will be redoing the Kingdom of Hyrule, because a feature I wanted into the engine is actually now in the engine. I got the files from the 0AD people yesterday, and after a bit of fidgeting around, I got it to work. So in the next release, the Hylians will be the same, but after that, I will be redoing the Kingdom of Hyrule, and Exodarian will be starting on battalions, so we'll probably spend the next several months going back and redoing all of the existing factions to have battalions, and fixing up other things and features that I want them to have that were not possible 2 years ago. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you think the heroes and their hero units are cool. And I hope you guys have a good one, and stay tuned for a minor faction video sometime in the next week or so. Anyway, have a good one, everyone.
Hey, listen!